Yeah, sure. I'll just start the show. Welcome. It's 7:01 p.m. I'm just 1 minute late to start the show. We were here, and Eli is the leader, so he showed up before me. So I'm just learning from him. And we have a guest, Nishit, and he will be from him. He might try to come unmute in the meantime. We are just welcoming everybody. So show and tell. We share all the participants in this show can show something which is helpful to the technology wise to non-profit or any business. So that's what we share, and I will share one thing which was very helpful to me, and I have many things, but I will share. I'll take my turn first to give the example. And Eli, you want to say something before I start, or we wait for some time? I think we wait.
No, I think, let's dive right in. This is your show today.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll just share my screen, and maybe I'll share two things. I'll start with one first, and then okay. So yeah. Here we are, and I see there is some very nice background here on my Chrome. This is the extension, and it tells you what it is. So I leave it here. Sometime I open so many windows. I open, let's say, Meetup. Yeah, let's say this. Okay, Meetup group. I open this one, and then I go to different things. I open so many windows, and sometimes it's very hard to. So let's say open this one, and then I go to my own. We go to NetSquared. So I'll just make a complex first, so we can make it simple. So sometimes there are so many windows on the computer, and then we see which windows I need to work on. There is email and stuff like that. And here is OneTab uh, Chrome extension. So I just click here. It brings me here. So it brings me on the Grammarly. Those all the tabs were open. They give you links here, and everything is clean. Now I can focus on. I can pick one which I need to work on. Others, those are minimized. So you can bring all tab into one tab, and you can see all those stuff here. So this is very powerful Chrome extension, OneTab. So yeah, I just wanted to share that one in my own turn, and I'll unshare the screen, and maybe Eli can take the turn, or yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I think I could probably fake a couple demos. Those who've been to these in the past may have seen some of this before. But yeah, let me show off something that I use every day. So let me turn the share screen on. So what I like to do, because I type similar things all the time and make similar mistakes all the time, is use a typing expander tool. Um, so a good way of just to see how that works is to say like, oh, like, I type my email address all the time, but my last name is very complicated because it's Vandergeesen. So I just set up a macro just to say like, if I go Eli at V, kapow, it just automatically expands. Or maybe someone emails me and says like, hey, what is your address again? And I just say like, oh, let me just type in this shortcut and there's my address. Um, or maybe I'm sending an email that I send once a week out to people all the time. And so I just wanted to say like, oh, let me create that email template. So I'd say like, okay, well, here's the body of like this final warning. And also you'll see here prompts up. So you can put prompts into this and say like, oh, to customize that email, you can create fields. Like in this case, it's like, here's a name field. So boom, and then say like, hi there, Joe, the thing that was auto filled in. And then you can spit out this whole email, which means if you need to email 30 people, but you want each one of them to come personalized a little bit via your Outlook and give you a chance to do a quick edit, this can work really well for you. The tool I use is something called Typinator. And you can see you can just sort of create any of these kind of shortcuts in it. Um, so I've got a lot of things like, oh, if I want to spit out like my application address, I go comma apply, and it spits out this text. And the way I've sort of set it up for my own brain is basically anything I want to start to open up as a URL, I usually start with a comma. But that's just a convention I created for myself. It's not something the software really requires. You can also use it for emoji, which is one of my favorite ways to use this. So sometimes going through the emoji search in all your pieces of software can be a little bit difficult. So I just go and created like these things like, here's my emoji bell. Like, oh, I want to use the bell emoji. If I just type like B bell, spits out the emoji. Or I go B boom, and it gives me like the 2/5 exploding emoji. So it's a nice way just to quickly write in emojis into your email. So that is Typinator. And another software on the market that's very similar is Text Expander, but they're all essentially the same thing, which is basically gives you a shortcut text that you can define out, just like explode out into any kind of text. Hi there, see we also have a new person joining us, Nathan Wong. Um, Nathan, you're welcome to come on camera and come join us because in fact, as we go through this, if you're inspired to show off your own favorite software or tool in one of these quick like 5-minute live demos, where we'd love to have you just jump in and say like, here's a cool thing I know about. Mohammed, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Eli. And that is emojis. I like those emojis. Maybe I'll ask you again how you get those emojis in there. And with that emojis, we can express ourselves because we cannot meet in person to hug or, show emotions, and we can throw emojis. It will be helpful. Thank you. And one of the things I think a month back, I got into this thing. It's very powerful. It's called Cyrus Insight. They give you 14-day trial, and then you get, if you like it, you can go to paid. It's keep your all email templates, and then maybe I show you some small example. I have my own actually email address here, but I think I can show you. Okay, let me see if I can make it shorter. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen and show it there. So here it is inside Cyrus. It's a plugin. It's again, yeah, inside Cyrus Insight. So it can run campaigns and so much stuff. And click on compose. Now I can track it, and then give within the email I can send. Let's say I need to request Eli, I'm going to request you right now some meetings. It's just the demo purpose only. So let's say I just giving the options here, this one, that one, just for simple reason. I just insert the time, and now it says meeting time. These are just in case Eli is not available on one of these times. He can click on these calendar. It will open up a calendar. It gives me, it's little fancy, and it gave me like my name and meet and like that. I'll just make it a little bit powerful. Okay, I think there was something called. Okay, I don't see that thing, so I'll just. I have less control here or something. I'm not sure what it is. I cannot highlight this thing. So it's see, I have my own name, Mita Bashir. So I can. It's kind of very personal, and it shows everything. All these things are similar. No, if those times are not available, let's say I send email to Eli, and in the meantime somebody booked on my calendar, and these times will not be available to book, and he can go to big URL and get all these other options which are available to schedule. So it's very cool. Yeah, I find it very handy, and you can track it as well. And there is if somebody, let's say I send him email, and Eli forget because he's so busy, which he does not. So I'm just making an example, and then I can click on follow up. Let's say if he does not reply for so many days, like I give him 4 days, and then it reminds me that if you want to do something about it, and then it brings on the top of the box here. So I'll just like unread email, then I can follow up with him according to action plan moving forward. So it has many features. It has 14-day trial, and thanks to Cyrus Insight, they gave me to try and showcase their product, and I just showcase it. And they also offer me discount for the non-profit community. I appreciate them. I just say it a disclaimer because I have to say it what it is. And I think it's very powerful. There are so many other features, and we can just go to their website and see Cyrus Insight. So it has so many features here. So yeah, we can go and check those features.
So actually, I'm seeing a question coming here in the chat, which is, does it have a sync with the Outlook calendar? It
yeah,
looks like it may.
yes, they have a Outlook version as well, and there is a Gmail version and there is Outlook version. Yes, there is. I'll just share the screen again to complete the response to that question. Thank you so much. I think who asked the question? I'll just see that. Yeah, Neshet, thank you so much for asking the question. And yes, there is. So once you see the features, I think there is features, and you see somewhere here. Basically, it's available for, you somewhere it says for Gmail and for Outlook. So right now I'm not looking at the screen. I don't see it, but it is. It's available for both. It's two versions. For Gmail, a separate version, and for Outlook, it's a different version. But it's available. Thank you so much, Nishat, for asking the question. I think Nathan is ready now, and you can unmute. Yes.
I did not. I don't have anything. I'm very new to this, so I don't have any really shortcuts. So if I know Eli's the master, he's been doing it for quite some time. A lot of secrets, a lot of tricks of the trade. So I'll donate my time to him or to other people who have a lot more to share than me. Thanks.
Thank you for that false modesty, Nathan. I'm sure that once you've seen a couple other demos, you'll say like, oh, wait, don't they know about this cool thing I use every day? Because I think all of us have like secret tricks in our back pocket. But here, let me, I'll keep moving along. Like, here's another thing I'd love to do. So all my demos today are going to be apparently about typing because that's all I do all day long as a community manager. I'm constantly sending messages to people, and part of that, of course, is copying and pasting things. I do this all the time. I get something from an email. I need to enter it into my database because it didn't come through a form because I haven't put up the great efficient systems. And cutting and pasting things is super annoying. Luckily, there's some tools out there that allow you to basically, create a clipboard that can get super huge. So here's here's an example of that. So I use a tool called Pastebot. And what it does is it just gives you basically a clipboard of like the last 100 things that you cut and paste. And this is super valuable because sometimes you say like, oh, I know I copied that like an hour ago. Like, where is that thing? And you're like, oh, like I think I wrote something about Orlando, didn't I? And there it is. Like, there's the URL with Orlando. So instead of having to go somewhere else, search in Google, copy it, it's all out here. So this is sort of like an extension of the things I know I'm going to use all the time. I put into that, that typinator tool where I sort of define out the auto script. But for some things that are just like more temporary, this is really good. And so this is fabulous, especially for, say, you're doing like social media stuff. And you're like, oh, I'm putting together like a tweet for somebody. And I'm going to need like, I'm going to copy this line from their website. And then I got to go and search for their Twitter handle so I can then put everything together. And so because now that you have all this stuff in your clipboard, you can just like go through there, copy the 4 things together. And then instead of going back and forth, Now you can just go there into your tweet and say like, okay, let me now construct that whole sentence here together. So you say like, oh, like I really want to say something about, you know, the school is, what was the other thing? It was, there's their handle, is led by, and they were like, oh, okay. And then, oh, but what city was she in again? I know I copied that down somewhere. It's like, is that in Toronto maybe? Anyways, I don't have an example for that. Is in, you know, another thing, but you could just say, and you just drop your text into it. So you just start to say like, oh, I can just put all the pieces together that I've cut and paste and then just spit it out here in one go. So that can be another useful little trick. Um, if you're super smart and programmery, you could even start getting more and more sophisticated where you can actually say like, I wanted to copy out 7 things and then spit those 7 things back in this order, so you can get more programmatic around it. I'm not that smart. I just use it for cutting and pasting Twitter hashtags and things like that, and then coming back and saying like, what was that person's email address? But I find it a very useful tool. I know there a a clipboard, sorry, a pasteboard with like a memory is actually built into Windows. And so that might be a first place to check if you are familiar with that. On the Macintosh, you're out of luck and you're going to have to get a third party piece of software. Something like Pastebot is the one I used. Um, but I think they're pretty much all the same. And I find them to be totally worth your while. I paid for this piece of software. I would happily pay them $20 again because it saves me 10 minutes every day of my life, which I'm grateful for.
We have a huge time saving when Eli is here. So yeah, thank you. Sometime anybody here is distracted by ads or marketing. Even I'm in the marketing, even still I have to focus myself somewhere with what I need to do. I think so. I'm just hinting that I'll share something which help me focus. So I'll share the same with you. It's a Google Chrome extension. It's I'll share my screen and okay. So no, it's not. I am not. Yeah, it seems AI. So I love AI. I'll share my screen, and I think we come back to that one. And okay. So here is this extension is DF Tube, distraction free for YouTube. So I can watch videos on YouTube. It does not distract me. So there is no ads and stuff like that. So whenever I watch it, there is no ads here. So I can watch what I need to watch. And even, yeah, it's very simple. Yeah, I doesn't have to show anything. Just install this one. And the browser it's a second, another tip, that browser I'm using is Brave, Brave. I think, yeah, Brave. So it doesn't let you let you stop marketers to follow you. So that's one of the things that you can less tracking. I won't say that 100% track free you are, but there's a less tracking going on with the Brave when you do the browsing. So it's very helpful. It works similar to Chrome browser, but it has additional layer of less tracking, and I loved it. Yeah, thank you so much. I think Nathan, you have something to share, which I know none of us have a flag on the back, and you have a flag which is flying kind of thing. So you help us understand that, and I think that's one thing you can start with.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that. It's just virtual background. It's not that big of a deal. The reason I have flags, Canadian flags, and the city of Vancouver Science World. I deal with a lot of Americans. I got business got shut down because of COVID, And so we branched out doing our Zoom events across, virtual events, meet a lot of Americans. And they had asked me, is there snow in the month of June up here in Vancouver? I said, what? Snow? Maybe in the mountains. I have to go talk to Whistler, but I don't think so because they're hiking, biking, and there might be. So it wasn't one or two Americans, but it was like several different Americans in different states. So that's why I have the flag. But that's the funniest thing. But if you want to get like a virtual background, like kind of like you have a more business professional. I'm sort of neutral, catch because I deal with a lot of Americans. I get them to identify me as the Canadian dude. But if you want pictures, just go take a picture of whatever with your camera, save it into your phone, and save it into your background, and choose virtual background. Instead of the default ones, they have some boring default pictures, but I like to be different, so I have a whole bunch of different ones. Something.
Nathan, I have a similar life to you. That's a really good life hack to just like shortcut some of those conversations. I also speak with people all over the world, lots of Americans, and if everyone sort of assumes I'm also American, or they're like, you're in Canada, you must live in an igloo. In both cases, I think your very clear background tells a story. It's just like here's what it looks like. This is where I am. So yeah, it's a good just like mental thought technology.
Yep, we don't drive. We drive cars, not dog sleds, and yeah.
Every place is far away and unique and foreign to somebody else. So you get to teach people.
Yes, that is funny and scary because I was surprised when I had Americans from California. I thought, okay, if you're in Texas on the East Coast, sure. Where the hell's Vancouver? I heard of it, but if you're on the Pacific Coast, like California, you should not be asking stupid questions like that. But it is
It's
what it is.
it's America is a big country, and it's hard for them sometimes to look outside of it. Let me do one quick demo, which I think is, speaking of scary, this always makes me really nervous. So I was doing a recent project where I'm like, oh, I want to talk to these people who develop like these applications for using like to address food security. And so I just would, you'd find someone, a company on Twitter or something like that. And often what you find there on the company website is, oh, well, here's the, their info at email address. That's not very helpful because no one's going to ever reply to you on this. So there's this service called Rocket Reach, which will basically, in a terrifying way, allow you to search on pretty much any company. Name a company. Let's see if we can find some people's personal contact info.
People at TechSoup who are helping us, we want to thank them.
Let's do TechSoup. That's a great idea. Let's see what shows up. I've never tested that actually. Well, this is apparently a hard search. Here we go. Yeah, so here we go. Here's Barb, one of my colleagues, a program manager. And so this is really nice because then you can actually see their titles. And some of this, of course, is pulled in from LinkedIn, but you obviously don't get that information from LinkedIn unless you have paid the $1,000 a month to become like the LinkedIn super user accounts. And so that's an interesting tool. Or it's like, oh, let's look up who are the people behind Rocket Reach, this service. And so I think your first 5 to 10 searches revealing an email address happen, for free. Afterwards, they're going to charge you, but it's so much cheaper than going through LinkedIn if you actually want to reach people directly. So, obviously be responsible with this, but it can be a powerful tool if you really want to find a way to directly contact someone as opposed to going through the front office, which often just isn't going to get you anywhere.
Wow, that's amazing, and I really needed that one. I'm paying I love LinkedIn. I pay $89 to that, and maybe I have to think now what to do. Thank you, Eli. It's and I think I am going to share one more thing. It's very powerful because nowadays we need in the marketing paradigm that we need something which is people which already have people attention, so we can use that to bring their attention to next thing which we want to show them. So it is something called Panda. I'll just share my screen, and with that you can see all the good things are happening in the designer news and the on the medium. I like medium. There's so much going on, so the things which are very powerful happening right now, very popular, those are here in the medium articles. I learned so much stuff from medium. And all these top product hunts. I found some product which was new, and those are price was some of them were beta, and I loved it. So it was a kind of free and new thing, and you can use it for free for some time, and you help them with the program as well. So so much stuff here. So there is a Behance. If you are in this arena, you see all those nice graphics which are trendy and eye-catching as well. And you can see there is a whole bunch of stuff which is due to the design, and the it's all around the marketing thing with the words and the images. It's a very powerful. I loved it, so I just wanted to share that one. And yeah.
Interesting. That really reminds me, and may even be based ultimately around RSS readers, which were popular, like 8 years ago, and then kind of fell out of fashion as people moved towards getting most of that breaking news via Twitter. Nishit, thank you very much for joining us, and have a really great day.
Thank you, Nishit.
So Nishit had an interesting question, which I actually am looking for an answer to as well, which is basically, does anyone use Doodle or something else to help schedule meetings like outside of the work hours? And I'll say from my perspective, I do use Doodle. I mostly use Calendly.com, which is, I think, very similar to this Meet.sci service you showed, in that it's really good for exposing your calendar and setting people up on these one-to-one meetings. I still use Doodle for multi-person meetings. Frankly, I've fallen out of love with it. I think the software has changed over time. It feels flaky, and I don't like it. Does anyone else have a good solution that they like around scheduling like 3 or 4 person meetings, like when you're trying to get all these schedules together?
Yes, I from that Panda, I went to. There is a new scheduling. You can schedule a conference. You can schedule as AI-based solution. Get me 30 minutes for 10 people, and it will look all these people in the calendar. I'm going to show that one. So that's very powerful. Yes,
Cool.
I'm going to share the screen. It's so powerful. You guys use it. It's because it's a new thing, so it's kind of many features are free. So x.ai is that simple.
Well, that's
There you
quite the URL.
so I signed up with it's a calendar. It's so much for teams, and it's so big. Actually, it has a huge value, and that is kind of replacing to answer that question. It's you can mark yourself optional, then because if you're optional, then your calendar is not occupied for that time, and other people can sign up for that time, allocated time, that whatever the time is. And it's so much better. You don't have to say anything, just say schedule 30 minutes, and it will find 30 minutes on your calendar, and people you email to them. So it's so very powerful. I loved it, and it's new, and you can see how many extensions they have, a sport everywhere almost. Wow, it's so much better. Yeah, you can try it. It's a free version. It has so much stuff actually. So for free version, it has all those things, goodies. Copy paste times, Chrome, Slack, multilingual support, and with the daily meeting prep, that is so powerful. It doesn't it emails you day ahead, so in the evening you see how many meetings are lined up for tomorrow. And it's that powerful. It has payment integration as well. Sometimes you want to accept payment before you meet that person, and you can accept the payment as well. Google Analytics, everything is so advanced. So actually, I when I found that one for a week, I was so crazy because it's so much powerful. I was so excited, and I was trying to wrap my head around about these things. It's so powerful. So yeah, thank you so much, Nishit, for asking that question. That led me to answer this one. So it's so powerful.
I'm definitely checking that out. I've built complicated workflows with Zapier feeds, like all around Calendly. But if I could find something that brings all that together, that'd be pretty fabulous. The thing which I think there's a very similar tool from Microsoft. Turn that share screen on. Um, but you basically need to be within Office 365 and in that ecosystem. So if you're an Office 365 subscriber, which is a lot of businesses, of course, then they've got included within that subscription Find Time, which I think does some of that kind of thing where like basically an AI emails those different people with options and finds a mutually beneficial time, and then just says like, oh great, and boom, here it is in your calendar and it's done, which is awesome. But yes, but for those of us in our home lives who aren't in Office 365, it doesn't work anywhere else. Whereas it looks like X.AI works obviously across way more platforms.
Yeah, XAI is very powerful, way powerful than scheduling actually. Yeah, it's so much powerful. Yeah, it's absolutely, it's still actually it's a little bit new, and but for home life, even for office, it's good. But I think for home, and we can test it for our personal things, and having fun party with the friends, 30 minutes in the evening, and you can also say that I want on this week, not now, but week 2 weeks from now, it will do it for you. Yeah, thank you. Find time is also I like it. If you already using Microsoft technology, then you don't have to think around and just use that one. And Nathan, I loved your attitude to defend Canada, and I think I need to learn thing or two from you, because the way you come across is very powerful and energizing, and I think Eli and Nathan are very okay. Pro-Canadian, is it a good term to use? Pro-Canadian?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go for it.
okay. Yeah. So yeah, but we need to promote our Canada as because we are vibrant community and society, and that's why we are promoting it. So it's so powerful.
Where are you located, Mohammed?
I'm in Toronto. Yeah, we are all Canadian here at this moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that just seemed to happen by accident, actually. But I guess partially it's because everyone in America is in the middle of Thanksgiving. So,
Holidays. Yeah. Sacrilege if you work, I guess.
oh, I have one ridiculous thing I can show off. Let me see if I can find that for you. Snapchat. It's a little bit obnoxious, but so here's an interesting thing. Let me just turn on the screen share. So obviously, sometimes we get a little bit bored in our big Zooms. So one fun thing, but a little bit, as I said, sometimes obnoxious thing you can do is you can basically create a virtual camera from Snapchat actually, and put that feed it into your Zoom, where you can basically just like create symbols, and you'll see here, like basically you can wave or do thumbs up, um, or maybe disappear And you'll see what happens is just you'll get like a pop-up there, like a little graphic that shows up, which is a little bit of a strange thing to do, but it's an interesting way for you to basically participate in, see, it looked like I smiled like, and it's gonna make me try and, put some symbols on it. So it's sometimes a little wonky, but it's fun because sometimes you can just like participate in the conversation. So as an example, you say like, okay, great, I'm in agreement, but I don't want to actually like, interrupt everyone in the middle of the chat. I'm just going to go like thumbs up, and it pops up yes. Or, or you say like fist up, you're like, no, I'm not in agreement. Or you go like rock on, woo. And then you could like smile, it goes ha ha ha. And so it's pretty simple, but it can be a fun little tool just to annoy your coworkers, or distract us sometimes when we're stuck in the middle of a meeting. And then of course, eventually it's gonna stop being quite so fascinating and you will turn off the effects because Snapchat will drive us all crazy. Of course, because it's based on Snapchat, you can do all kinds of super insane things with it. You can basically take any of your Snapchat filters. So apparently I can see if I can turn myself. Let's see what happens here. There we go. I'm now some creepy anime character. My nose is far too big to work with a style, apparently. Or, you can change it where you just say like, I want to put a cat in my head. And so now I have a cat on my head. And this is really about as much as it is. It's really just a distracting toy.
Can you customize some of those answers?
So those answers themselves right now, it doesn't have like a direct way to customize those right now. You need to have some basic developer skills. They say like it's not that hard, but you'd have to sort of roll your own little app within the Snapchat store. And if you've put the link to that story here, which actually links to more developer-centered things. But right now, yeah, it hasn't been turned into a full product, so you can't do any customization around it. But if you're feeling ambitious, could be your holiday project. I know, I'm definitely going to spend some time with how it works. What about you, Nathan? Have you run into any other pieces of software recently that you just feel like are been fun or distracting, or or just like a way to help you feel like you're on top of your life?
I was just told recently that if you update your Zoom to the newest one, then there are different funky stuff that you could do, like the filters. Because I had the old filter for quite some time, but if you update your Zoom, then you can have a little bit more fun that way. And the guy showed it to me. Uh, so that's like you said, distracting tools when you upgrade. Yeah, something like
Oh,
they have.
Nathan, I also haven't upgraded. So I only upgraded like yesterday. So this is totally new to me as well. Actually, I didn't know about any of this. It's under virtual backlinks and there's a second tab on that page. Thank you. Yeah, no, I didn't know about this. Oh, and then there's a little section here called Studio Effects Beta. So you can start building everything up. Like I can't have both a beard and a mask, obviously. That's not going to work. I can add eyebrows. Oh, I could change my lip color. This is totally crazy. Well, I don't understand any of this, but oh yeah, I now have some lipstick on. There we go. And finally I have eyebrows. For as a person with like very light colored hair, I basically have never had eyebrows in my life. So this is quite exciting to me. But maybe it's a bit too much. Let me dial that down. And maybe it's not going to be fully professional for all of my meetings.
I think we are having quite a lot of fun today. So yeah.
what do we think? Do we have any other things we want to demo today, or how do we feel?
Uh, I think yeah, this is how much I wanted to share. There are so many things I can go about, but it becomes boring sometime. Yeah, I actually like it if more people are here. Everybody share one, two goodies, and it is very kind of a community feeling.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think. But in smaller meetings, we get to know each other more, and definitely, I think it's very first time I met Nathan Wang, and I will remember him from his powerful presentation of being Canadian. So yeah, even so that's about it. Yeah.
Well, if you want
Awesome. Well,
to
sorry, go
share
ahead.
more stuff, Mohammed, don't feel shy because that will not offend me at all. I have a lot tougher, thicker skin than that. I come from the B2B world. So for you to share some of these little hacks and stuff like that with Eli and I'm sure we're not going to complain. Find that either amusing or more educational, useful. So go at it.
Is that okay if I share my source, which I learned all those? How about that?
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Okay. I just I was today I was looking simply that AI technology. I was looking for a calendar because I know I moved to kind of different environment, which I'm kind of running four projects altogether different, but it's all about the have bringing communities together, just like Eli is doing and TechSoup and NetSquared is doing. So I'm going into different. So I needed that AI calendar. So I went to that Simply Witty. I think it's Simply Witty or Simplicity. So I'll just it's on YouTube. It's calendar. Sorry, it he shares things like which are very nice. I think I'll just look it up the thing and then I come to you. Maybe somebody can take over the conversation and I come back.
So, Nathan, yeah. So I've recently been, basically working on a project that, you know, wasn't quite worthy of putting into a CRM with all the overhead that can come with this, that, but suddenly turned into like 8 different tabs of spreadsheets and was been driving me crazy. And so I've been looking at different options. And are any of you familiar with like Airtable or Notion or any of those things which basically allow you to start creating like sort of low code apps based on just like, sort of spreadsheet style data that where you start linking things in?
Not for me.
Yeah, I'm just doing some very early experiments with it, but yeah, I'm looking for someone with some more wisdom about like how do I best come at this?
Okay, I think I'll share my screen. I'll come back to the question which I need to understand, and then maybe I have the answer later on even. So I would be happy to look into. And I just share my screen and go to that YouTube channel. He's so powerful, simply witty. Get more done and enjoy less stress. So it has all those things to do it faster, easier, and he was comparing the calendars, one of the videos, and I found out that he shared so many of them, and one of them was X.ai, and that I was super happy. Even I could not sleep. For I had good sleep, but I was when I was up, it was so much over. So it has so much, so very nice things and very useful extension. And uh, maybe Eli, he has the answer to your question as well. So that organization things. What was the question, Eli?
Oh, I've just been looking at these tools to sort of create like sort of like very light CRMs. You know, and just as an aside, yeah, I think that site with videos looks really helpful. I used to use a site called lifehacker.com. But it has turned over the years into a garbage site as like the editors moved on and other people took over. And so now it's mostly just like affiliate links and trash. But let me tell you, 8 years ago, it was like the greatest site. Every day was like, here's another cool software thing. So here, I'll show you the thing I'm basically trying to figure out. And I'm not an Excel guru, so that's not my solution. So you basically have like what looks like a spreadsheet here. And I actually imported this from Spreadsheet. I've got my individuals, my organizations tab, leads with objects, maybe a list of apps. And obviously what quickly starts happening is you have these duplicate entries. So you're like, oh, I have an organization on 3 of these tabs. I've got the organization right here, but also like under my apps, well, those are also obviously also run by organizations. So it can really start driving you crazy because now you got to keep like multiple tabs and like things in order. Like, oh, I have the same email address in 3 places, but actually it bounced back, but I'm not going to update it in all 3 places. It's a recipe for craziness. This is why people create databases, obviously, because then you don't have this stupid problem. But databases are heavy and like take a lot of admin maintenance. And so there's this form of software. There's like Airtable, there's Notion, there's something very similar as well from AWS. AWS, what is it, Django or something like that? Nope. Airtable clone, basically. What is that thing called? Honeycode is what it's called. Anyways, they're all very similar, and all of them basically look like this, which is they say you get, sorry, let me just find the right tab. So what you get with these is a spreadsheet, and then you can just basically, it's just like Excel. You create the headings, you can cut and paste them in, you can import spreadsheets, you can create new sheets. But what you can do obviously is create some smarts behind it. So you can basically say like, oh, this column, like, instead of just saying, I want to format it as dates or something like that, you say, what I really want this to do is this should be a lookup field. So let's make it a lookup field, which I've done. And so now that means instead of it just, this is basically my old flat dumb data on the other side, because I'm going to have to do some cleanup. You say like, oh, Planet Merple. Do I have something else in here under my organizations? Well, I don't. So I don't need to enter that in here. But I do for some of them here. So let's see. What about farm link? Nope. But yeah, so here's just an example. So, so I'm like, oh yeah, so there is Kiwi Harvest. And so what I did basically here is just say like, okay, Kiwi Harvest, let me clean this up and say like, well, let's just say, what is Kiwi Harvest? I'm like, okay, it actually exists on my other sheet. So I can just have like an organization sheet and to like bring that in and Kiwi Harvest. It means like I can then click in there. I can go and update this table from another sheet within the system and sort of give it like yes, no options. And so you can create basically this nice little sort of CRM-y kind of tool without actually having to do any kind of smarts, because all it really is doing is just going to the organizations field and pulling out all the stuff we saw here for Kiwi Harvest. So that's kind of what's going on over here. It's pretty intriguing to me that I can just sort of start creating some bit more database work. Obviously, I've started late, which means I have to do some cleanup, but I'm intrigued by the option. So maybe I will tell you more that it was life-changing or not when we do this thing again in 3 months.
Yeah, this is very amusing to me. I use Google Sheets, and those are not very smart for me. In my opinion, I need to do some work to get it to make them smarter. I think I'll use Airtable now. So yeah, it will be helpful for me to navigate through that light CRM, so to speak. Or I start using Salesforce. Even that I need to learn. So how to implement it?
Salesforce is, people's full-time jobs just administering that. Like
Exactly, yeah.
Salesforce is really powerful, but its barrier to entry is pretty intense.
Yeah. So I use that extension with Salesforce, the Cyrus Insight are showed, and
Mhm.
it just keep the data, and I do the all the tracking in that Cyrus Insight, and it's that way. It's the combination is working for me, but I think I will need to hire a consultant for the Salesforce. That definitely.
Unfortunately, Salesforce consultants are totally expensive because they're in high demand. So I got to watch out for that one. I used to work with the Salesforce consultants at a charity I was at, and it was sometimes a little bit frightening.
Oh yeah, I did not. I was not aware of that. Thank you, Leia. I'm glad I mentioned.
It's all good. I'm follow the right path. Explore, have fun. I'm gonna need to leave pretty soon as well. When will happen, Nathan? It was really great get to chat with you today, especially since today was my quiet day. I didn't really talk to anyone since all my U.S. colleagues were on holidays. So it's great to talk with you two today.
Likewise.
Thank you, Eli. It's always fun to. I think I need to find out what Eli's interests are and make those events which according to that one. And so I keep meeting Eli and the events. Thank you.
Nice meeting you, Mohammed.
Nice
Have
meeting
a
you.
nice weekend, gentlemen.
Thank
All
you.
the
And
best. Yeah, it's such a
yeah,
pleasure.
thank you. Bye
Cheers.
bye.
See you all.